if you were advising Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury, what advice could you give him?
I've seen Tyson, he looks out of shape. I'm not gonna lie. No, I would tell Francis, take your shot. Go in there, and from round one, just put it on him. Shock him. You're not gonna outbox him. It's impossible.
Welcome to the Battle of the Baddest podcast. It's episode 3. I'm Gareth A Davies, looking ahead to the fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou that opens the Riyadh season on October the 28th. They're calling it the Battle of the Baddest. Coming up on this week's show, Raven Chapman, one of Frank Warren's female fighters, is in the studio with me. And Chris Eubank says Francis Ngannou needs to jump on Tyson Fury because he sees Fury as not taking this fight seriously. More on that coming up. We've also got Amir Khan, Fabian Edwards, and Idris Virgo on this week's show. Here we go. Well, it gives me great pleasure to invite into the studio the Battle of the Baddest podcast, one of the baddest females on the planet, Raven Chapman. You are 7-0 now. You're featherweight. I can't believe you're featherweight. I can't. You're just so big.
Oh, thanks.
No, but I don't know if it's your presence. I don't know if it's just you're a freak. Yeah, how the hell do you make featherweight?
Comfortably. I love featherweight. I'm strong at featherweight. I really liked that intro, by the way.
Thank you.
One of the baddest women. I like it.
You are.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Featherweight, it's just it's comfortable for me. It's where I feel good. It's where I feel strong. And yeah, I have been told that I can look big because I am quite muscly underneath the baggy clothes.
You're an athlete, aren't you? You're very powerful.
I am, and I train hard, and I take it seriously when I train, and I enjoy the power, the strength, all of that side of it, as well as the boxing.
A little bit on you before we get into fighting in the Middle East, which you've done already. Born in Norwich.
Yeah.
You live in High Wycombe.
Yep.
I know you've got a partner because I've met him. He's very dedicated to you. He's always with you. It's brilliant to have a partner, a man who's really behind your fighting, and he's fit himself, isn't he? Well, I've got his name.
Jack.
Jack.
He's turned professional now.
Has he?
Yeah. So he's signed by Francis.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get a Queensberry couple.
No, I like it. A Queensberry couple. I say you're promoted by Frank Warren as well. You've just fought the York Hall. So that made you 7-0 against an undefeated 9-0 fighter. Brazilian? Yes, Dos Santos. Yeah.
Furtado.
Yeah.
She was a tough opponent and great fight. Very hot that night as well, but
it always is at the York Hall. It's 30 degrees if it's 18 degrees outside.
Honestly, that was the hottest I've ever felt York Hall, but
yeah.
I think that was perfect. It meant I could perform under, horrible conditions. I got cut as well for the first time ever in my career, amateur or pro. So, that to me was a great test and a great show of what I am capable of, even under those kind of circumstances.
And where are you? Where does the desire in you come to be a female warrior? Where did it come from?
Probably my dad. My dad's always taught me to be tough and strong, and wanted to make sure I could always look after myself and protect myself. And I've always been a very independent, headstrong character. So I think the two kind of go hand in hand, obviously being brought up by a male as well with my dad. He was my best friend growing up, and I did everything with him and followed his lead, and he was massively into martial arts, all kind of martial arts. And so I obviously grew up watching Jackie Chan movies.
Yep.
So that's what I ended up loving, and I love all kind of combat sports.
Do you do them all?
I try to. Obviously now I am professional and boxing takes up a lot of time, but I do want to get back into doing a little bit more sort of wrestling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Are you one of those women? This is why it's fascinating to have you in the studio. Are you one of those women? Some mixed martial arts women, Holly Holm and others, have crossed over to boxing.
Yeah.
They've been world champions in boxing. Heather Hardy, boxing and mixed martial arts. Obviously, you're focused on your boxing at the moment. Like you say, you can wrestle.
Yeah.
You can wrestle with them alligators. You know some jiu-jitsu clearly. You can roll. You probably use your elbows and your knees really well and your feet.
Well, I've actually just booked Thailand for Christmas.
You?
Yeah. So I'll be going over there doing some Muay Thai and probably a little bit of MMA.
So
as a
presumably,
holiday.
Raven, which I want to know is that your real name or
That
not?
is, yeah.
It's Raven.
Raven. I know it's a perfect name, really, isn't it? I've
yeah.
definitely gone down the right career with a name like that.
We got some top names on the show this week. You'll cross over at some point into MMA then,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I actually almost went pro MMA
Okay.
before I got onto the GB program.
Yeah, for boxing.
Yeah, for boxing. So I was out in Thailand and found myself in these fight tryouts for MMA to get a scholarship with Tiger Muay Thai.
Which is very famous. Loads of UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, they're all training out there.
Yeah.
PFL fighters.
That's it. So I trained alongside quite a few of those and did these tryouts. I was just there at the same time on holiday and they invited me to join in. I'd never properly done MMA at the time, but I've dabbled with Muay Thai and obviously the jiu-jitsu, so I thought I'd give it a go. And apparently it's that close between me and the girl who did actually get it, who was Mallory Martin, who did go on to fighting in the UFC. So
that's how far away you are.
How far away, yeah, I was. And I think the reason for that was because Mallory was an all-rounded MMA fighter already. I essentially was just a boxer at the time. So yeah, it's crazy how journeys go, but obviously I came back and got onto the GB program and followed the boxing route. But I think if I'd got that, I would have taken that with a heartbeat. A year in Thailand, who would say no?
And the rest is your history now, of course. As I say, 7-0. That's why it's brilliant to have you as a guest on the Battle of the Baddest podcast, because, you know, we're looking ahead to this fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou on October the 28th that opens the Riyadh season in Riyadh. In that vein, when this fight was announced and everyone says Francis Ngannou's got no chance against Tyson Fury, you know, because you train all those disciplines, I'm sure you box sometimes with MMA fighters and you think, oh, I'm going to have to watch myself here. Is that going to be, in your view, the same for Fury, that he cannot take Francis Ngannou lightly?
Yeah, 100%. I think as a fighter, not just boxing, you have to appreciate anyone that gets into the ring, a cage, whether they're boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or doing MMA. Francis Ngannou has proved himself on the MMA stage as one of the best. You know, he's the best there, and he wants to prove himself in the boxing discipline against one of the best. So how can you not respect that and appreciate that, you know?
And it's always been his dream, he said. He told us last week when we met him at the press conference for the Battle of the Baddest. It was always my dream to be a boxing champion, not an MMA champion. It's just the way the cookie crumbled, the way the dust fell, the sand fell, if you like. You know his story.
Yes.
The sand quarry.
Exactly.
Finds an MMA gym in Paris, gets him off the streets.
Proper rags to riches.
It's like you.
isn't
You
it?
could have been in the UFC right now rather than boxing if
Exactly.
something different had happened in Thailand.
You just never know, you know, the path is kind of written, isn't it? I do believe that what's meant for you is going to happen. And with Ngannou, that's clearly his passion is boxing. So why wouldn't he want to test himself against the best? And, you know, money aside, Fury obviously thinks that it's a challenge for him as well, because he is the best MMA fighter in the heavyweights and he has, you know, the most powerful punch recorded. So what's not to like about this fight? And an MMA fighter, they're going to do things differently. They're not gonna
Unorthodox. That's such a good point.
that can be really difficult compared to fighting someone who's technically perfect, because you know where the shots are coming from. They're a lot not easy to read, but they're textbook.
Yeah.
Whereas when things are so unorthodox, you don't know where the next shot is going to come from.
It's very interesting. I've heard boxers say that before when they're fighting MMA fighters, that, you know, they're kind of off balance when they throw sometimes, or they're throwing with the wrong hand off the wrong foot, because it does happen.
Yeah.
Well, I caught up with Chris Eubank Jr. very soon after his victory over Liam Smith. And here's what he had to tell me, Raven, about what he believes at the moment when it comes to Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. And here's his advice.
If you were advising Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury, what advice could you give him about his fight with Fury? What would you, if you were in his corner and you were doing what Mike Tyson's doing, what would you advise him to do when the bell rings for that fight?
I mean, I've seen Tyson. I've seen Tyson, you know, at the face-off. He looks out of shape. I'm not going to lie. He looks like he maybe hasn't taken. When is the fight? What day?
October the 28th. October the 28th.
So they got a month and a half. I don't know. I could imagine that he's not taking this fight too seriously, because he's just such a huge favorite. So, you know, I would tell Francis, take your shot, go in there, and from round one, just put it on him, shock him. You're not going to outbox him. It's impossible. He's too big. He's too experienced. His arms are too long. He's too experienced. You can never outbox this man. You don't have the caliber. You're not a boxer. You're an MMA fighter. You punch very hard. Get in there and swing away as much as you can, as early as you can, and try and get him out of there. Because, you know, if he takes you into those deep waters, you know, you're just going to get your head jabbed off. You're going to get the 1-2s, and he's going to move around. So yeah, take the chance while it's there early, and see what happens.
So Chris Eubank Jr. there, Raven. Less than complimentary about Tyson Fury physically. He looks out of shape. In Chris's view, Tyson may not be taking this too seriously because he's such a huge favourite. Everybody's saying he literally needs to turn up to win. Put it on him. Shock him. You're not going to outbox him, Francis. You punch hard, swing early, take your chance. Is Chris on the money there?
I definitely agree with a lot of what Chris says there. The only thing is, yes, Tyson doesn't look in shape. But let's be honest, when does he ever really look in amazing shape?
I've seen him looking better.
Yes, I was going to say, I have seen him looking better, especially considering he's in a 12-week training camp and he's halfway through and he's still looking how he looks. I mean, he's still got a few weeks left. You never know how his training's going, what adaptations they're doing as it gets closer to the fight. But he doesn't look in the best shape. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
But the thing is with Tyson, his shape doesn't always dictate how he's going to box. I've thought that before against Deontay Wilder. And yet he goes in there and he was amazing in the first fight on the comeback, beat him up in the second fight. And the third fight, well, it was just war. And he showed what a great champion's heart and chin he's got.
That's it. Exactly.
And he was big then.
Exactly, and that's what I mean in the sense he has looked in better shape, but he's never been in amazing shape ever, even through when he's out of camp, when he's in camp. And he does train hard. You know, he is a champion. He doesn't want to lose that. And like he said at the press conference, if he loses, he can't ever show his face again.
No, he'll have to show his face again in another ring with Francis Ngannou and prove and right the wrongs.
I don't see Fury ever beating Francis in an MMA cage, if I'm honest.
He's up for it though.
He is,
as he said at the press conference, I'm up for it.
It's amazing, and he believes he'll win. He believes he'll win the boxing fight. He believes he'll win the MMA fight. I agree with Chris as well that for Francis, he's never going to outbox Fury, whatever shape Fury's in.
Yeah.
Put it on him. See how he deals with that. It won't be easy. It's a lot easier said than done, because you can walk into things, you can make mistakes if you go in recklessly. But if he goes in behind good movement and a solid jab, he could cause problems for Fury. I agree. And with Mike Tyson training him, if he gets anywhere near a Mike Tyson head movement on the go, that's difficult.
It's a very good point you make about Mike Tyson. I mean, we had Ben Davison and Julius Francis, who fought Mike Tyson on the first episode, and they were saying what a psychological advantage it is having that man in the corner. Francis and Tyson, it wouldn't surprise me. I remember years ago, Tyson Fury sparring with Rico Verhoeven, the Glory kickboxing champion. Yeah. And Tyson's done a bit of kickboxing. I mean, he's got those telescopic legs and arms anyway. I think it is a difficult one for Tyson Fury in lots of ways, because Francis Ngannou is going to bring it early. I really do think he's going to let his hands go. He's ice cool. I mean, you probably met him last week as well. He's an ice cool character. And Tyson Fury is the ultimate salesman, isn't he?
That's it, yeah.
We mustn't write Francis Ngannou off. It's different to Mayweather and McGregor all those years ago, because these are the big hitters. That's
the thing with the heavyweights. You know, as is the old saying, one punch can change everything. And Ngannou has got a hell of a one punch chance. So you can't write him off. Like you said before, he always wanted to be a boxing champion. So boxing's his passion, whether he went into MMA and not boxing. He obviously has a passion for boxing. He's got a great trainer or role model in Mike Tyson, being there, being in his camp, guiding him through. He's one of the best. Here's my ultimate GOAT for me, Mike Tyson. So it's going to be a hard night for Fury. Anyone that thinks this is going to be an easy night, I think maybe in for a shock. And he's a fighter in Ngannou. He's not going to be there to just put on a show for everyone and have Tyson have his glory. He's going to be there to win, because that's what he is. He's a champion and he wants to win.
Who wouldn't want the Raven, the Omen, Chapman in their corner for a fight? Listen to her. She is on the money. Well, talking about MMA stars, Fabian Edwards, who fights Johnny Eblen on September the 23rd in Dublin, also joined me this week. And he says Ngannou has got a chance. He's going with the MMA guy. Get this.
We're undefeated, and that's the perfect opponent to do it against.
Can I finally ask you, Fabian, you've got great stand-up skills. We're about to witness Francis Ngannou, the former UFC heavyweight champion, crossing over to fight Tyson Fury in a boxing match. What advice would you give to Francis Ngannou going in against Tyson Fury, if you were in his corner or if you were training him like Mike Tyson is? What advice would you give him in this contest? And do you think he has a chance?
I think he's got a chance, because a guy that can punch as hard as him has always got a chance. You know what I mean? I know the skill-wise, obviously, Fury's his levels, but a guy that punches as hard as him, I think that he's got a chance, you know? So if I was in his corner and I was coaching, I'd be saying target the body, because Tyson got a great head movement, but it doesn't matter how much the head moves, the body stays. You know what I mean? So I'd be heavily invested in the body and yeah, you know, and then later rounds, you could potentially bring it back to the head. So that would be my unprofessional advice, you know.
Do you think that there is going to become a time when an MMA world champion is going to go into boxing and be a world champion in boxing as well?
It could be, but it has to be I feel like me and my brother could do it, like, being honest.
Really?
You know, I really do think me and my brother could, but we're just solely invested in MMA, you know. But a lot of the guys that have gone over and done boxing, they ain't got that great hands, you know what I mean? They got like like what's his name? Woodley just was known for just one punch, like
Tyron
overhand.
Woodley against Jake Paul. Yeah, he was more of a
It's
wrestler.
like overhand Woodley, you know what I mean? The wrestler basically with overhand. Diaz, like, he doesn't really box that good, you know what I mean? Ask him, don't even box. He just wrestles. So all the guys that have crossed over, they've never been like, obviously I know Conor, but he went against the greatest, you know what I mean? So that was expected. And I feel like me and my brother would do really good in boxing.
So you're going to predict Ngannou and Fury for me. What do you think is going to happen?
You know what? I'm going to stick with the MMA guy. You know, I'm going to stick with Ngannou. Since he's left the UFC, everyone gave him stick. And I like to see someone win, you know, like, especially when everyone wrote him off. I like to see those odds. And it's good that he's managed to secure this fight for himself, for his family. It's just great to see, because everyone said it was the wrong move for him. So my prediction, if anything, you have to stop him. Otherwise, you get outpointed. So I'll go for him in the first 5 rounds. I'll say a stoppage.
Wow.
Otherwise, get outclassed.
Well, great call. Fabian, it's lovely to see you. It's great speech as always. Team Renegade in the background, war on your shirt. And of course, September the 23rd, Bellator 299. Best of luck in winning the middleweight title when you face Johnny Eblen.
Well, that's Dublin next weekend, of course. Fabian Edwards fighting Johnny Eblen for the Bellator middleweight title. I'm here with Raven Chapman, the Omen. One of my other mates, Spencer Oliver, is the Omen as well. Why are you the Omen, by the way?
Well, I got described as a demon in the ring, but with the face of an angel.
Correct. That's about spot on.
That's about right, isn't it? And my manager, Steffi Ball, heard that, and the Omen
It is.
began. Yeah.
Do, 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 do.
I know. I was thinking I might come on in a little red trike on my
No.
next one.
You're too angelic for that. Fabian Edwards, then. He's backing Ngannou. He's doing the MMA thing. He's got a chance. Target the body. Do you like that?
I do like that, especially as we've said, Fury's not in the best shape. You know, if you're
There's a lot of body there as well with him.
Poor food, things like that, getting hit in the body, in the belly is never nice, you know, let alone if you've been stuffing your face with crap.
I don't think he is. I just think he's
You
just a big guy.
He's a big guy, but you don't get in that kind of out of shape by eating apples. So you don't know what he's eating. So it's a good, like you say, he's got a lot of body there. Saying that, Fury doesn't just move his head well, he moves his whole body well.
Moves like a middleweight.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. I've had the experience of moving around a ring with Tyson Fury.
Have you?
I have, yeah. So done 2 full rounds of sparring with Fury. And
a little bit of body tickling, yeah?
A little bit of body tickling. I mean...
Well, tell me you dropped him.
His arm's the length of my body.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun. He was a great sport, and he pushed me, and he moved so quick. He moved as quick as the featherweights I'd fought.
Really?
You know,
so until you're in there with him, you don't realise.
You don't realise how quick and how nimble on his feet he actually is.
Fascinating. Well, there's another guest. Will Ngannou shock the world? We don't really know. But another guy who I met this week and had a chat to is Idris Virgo. He's been sparring in recent times with KSI at London Shoot Fighters. KSI, of course, is fighting Tommy Fury on October the 14th in Manchester. He's been a sparring partner for him, Idris Virgo. He's fighting Aaron Chalmers next weekend in Misfits. Doesn't like Tommy Fury. Really doesn't like him. They had a scuffle, of course, somewhere over in the Middle East. Take a look at this.
There's a guy who looks a bit like you, but he weighs about 18 stone, called Francis Ngannou, who's come from MMA, was the UFC heavyweight champion. Battle of the Baddest. He faces Tyson Fury at the opening of the Riyadh season on October the 28th. Do you give Ngannou any chance against Tyson Fury, Idris?
I'll give Ngannou a bit of a chance because he's got Mike Tyson in his corner. But then again, you always got to remember, great fighters don't turn into great coaches. So that could have
yeah.
So that could have an effect. But he's got a chance. He's a big guy. He's great in MMA in the UFC. Tyson Fury is slicky. Tyson Fury moves like a middleweight, but then again, he had a bit of problems with Wilder. So I don't know. I think Francis might have a bit more power what Tyson Fury could handle, but you just never know. I think it's probably about 65 to 35 fight.
Oh, as much as that then. Oh, so he's got a chance then.
He's got a chance. He's got a chance. I think if he clips him and he works onto his body, he's got a chance against to beat Tyson Fury. But it's going to be a great fight, man. I'm happy that I'm actually got invited to go to that fight, so I can't wait to see that fight live in action, man. It's going to be
absolutely
a great fight.
A lot of people. I think it's a huge event, obviously. So if you're in his corner and you're advising him, and it's the night of the fight, what advice are you giving to Francis to go out there when the first bell rings? What would your advice to him to be in terms of game plan?
Don't focus on his head, focus on his body. Go to the body, then you follow it, then you find the head after. You know what I mean? Just stay on him. You can't be letting him move around being slick. You gotta stay on him and use your front hand, because you can use that jab all around the road, and the right hand only knocks onto the door. So if he does that and uses his jab and close the range, so Tyson Fury can't use his long levers and hit him with little uppercuts and left hooks, I do believe he could have a chance of winning.
And you're going to be ringside. Who are you going to be shouting for?
Francis. I'll be, come on, son, let's go. I'll be shouting for him. Then again, I don't mind Tyson. I think Tyson's all right, to be honest with you. Because I have met him. He's been quite a funny lad. So I don't mind Tyson Fury. But I don't like his brother. But yeah.
You clearly want to fight Tommy Fury, don't you?
I just do. I just don't like the kid. I don't like the kid. He's like a copycat. I just don't like Tommy Fury. We just don't like each other.
Has there been words?
With me and Tommy, 100%. Yeah, there's been words with me and Tommy. We had a scuffle.
Of course you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we you know what? We've got to meet. Our paths have collided. We've got to see each other, and hopefully we will see each other soon. But other than that, I just don't like him.
You'll see each other ringside in Saudi Arabia on October the 28th as well.
Dude, I hope it doesn't kick off again. I'll be like, someone beat you on 14th of September. So yeah. Oh crap! I forgot about that. Crazy. Yeah.
Well, there we are. Idris Virgo, Raven. He's supporting Francis Ngannou. A lot of people are. I think a lot of people want Ngannou to upset the apple cart.
Everyone loves an underdog, don't they? They love that. You know, it's that Rocky story, isn't it?
It is. Mike Tyson in the corner, he made that point. Mm-hmm. It is an advantage having someone like Mike Tyson in your corner. I mean, you've seen some of the clips, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's pushing Francis Ngannou hard. He's making him work really, really hard. He's giving him advice. Obviously can't be in there with him, but it must be a massive advantage to have Mike Tyson, who's done and seen all those things in his time, and now is a very wise older man, to be able to give him that advice.
You could pick up so much just being around Mike Tyson, I'm sure, let alone having him in with you in camp day in, day out. You know, that wealth of knowledge, you know, you can't buy that. So I think it is a major factor towards how Ngannou is going to prepare for the fight and going to perform in the fight. I think it'll be a major advantage in his head that he's got one of the best there helping him to win.
I do not disagree, and I cannot wait to see and meet Mike Tyson around this fight. He's always been an extraordinary character. Well, Raven Chapman, The Omen, and I are going to take a little break, and afterwards we're going to be joined by the one and only Amir Khan, who's got a new book out, and it's called Fight for Your Life. Amir coming up next. Welcome back to the Battle of the Baddest podcast. I'm Gareth A Davies, Raven Chapman in the studio with me, and we are joined by one of the biggest stars ever in world boxing. The king, they call him, Amir Khan. He's got a new book out. fight for your life. Amir, you've always been fighting for your life. Tell us about the new book.
Listen, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to you, man. I mean, look at that. I mean, Gareth, you've always respected me and talked very highly of me to people. Even people have come over to me and said, "Oh, we met Gareth and he said this about you." And it's been nothing but amazing words. And the way you introduced me then, well, first of all, I want to say a big thank you. I really appreciate you. And I appreciate what you said about me. But yeah, man, I've just launched the book. And it's time that I tell the truth about everything that has happened in my boxing career and outside of my boxing career. And it's been fun to write, and I'm glad that we've just bought it out now. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to have a great book writer who did it with me. And yeah, man, I mean, it's brilliant. Yeah.
On the cover, it says frank, funny, shocking, honest. I mean, I do remember you as a teenager. I think you're about 16 when I first met you, and is that 20 years ago? It is 20 years ago. You've been through so much. You've been a public figure for 20 years. Every time you break a toenail, it's news. So,
But you've always been there. You've always said great things, man. You've always been a very big supporter and someone that supported me all the way to the top, really. I mean, remember the days when we did interviews when I was in Bolton, when I was just like an amateur boxer going to the Olympics. Before going to the Olympics, you were there. Then obviously I went on to turning professional with Frank Warren, and then worked with Eddie Hearn, and then went to America. You always had the fights in America as well. So look, end of the day, I think you guys also deserve a lot of credit in this, because I can't do it on my own. I needed people like yourselves that were always there, always supporting me, always backing me. And just by reading your articles about me, used to give me that extra push to go out there and do more.
Well, it's amazing, Amir. Listen, you don't need to praise us. It's our job. It was a pleasure to cover you, because there was always an honesty about you. You're a dyed-in-the-wool warrior, and you were emblematic of an era in British boxing, and as a result, lots of kids from British Pakistani Muslim communities, from everywhere, really. You were loved by universally. I've got to ask you, how hard has it been to walk away from the sport eventually?
You know what? It was quite easy. It wasn't that hard, because it's it ended up being I've got a burden on me. You know what I mean? I can't retire because people want me to fight. I'm doing it for the people. I'm not really doing it because my love for boxing went some time ago. And it's like I was just doing it. I don't know why I was doing it, and I just didn't know how to stop. Till the performance against Kell Brook happened, and I then kind of said, because I think everyone kind of knew then I should call it a day. So that way, then I said, I'm going to call it a day. I just needed someone to support me in that, because I was on my own, really. And people always said, we're going to put it on you whenever you want to retire, or whenever you retire, then that's it. But really, it was hard for me to do that, because I thought that if I say I'm going to retire, I'm going to end up upsetting a lot of people, if you get what I mean. So it was hard. I mean, I just kept on doing it, because to me, it's all I knew.
I just seen Haroon appear on your shoulder. Your brother's just been in the corner of the picture as well. He's always been there or thereabouts. I love Haroon.
Yeah.
There's a big focus at the moment on crossover fights, different types of fights. I'm so glad you had the Kell Brook fight. Obviously, it wasn't the right outcome for you.
Yeah.
I was with you both and with Malinaji a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, in Manchester, we had a lot of fun. It's amazing how kind of hatreds and enmities go away in the end, and that there's respect between the brotherhood or the sorority in the end, that there isn't that hatred when it's all over and said and done.
I swear, I saw Kell Brook and I was quite happy to see him.
Yeah.
Honestly, even though we just a couple of years ago we were fighting each other and hitting each other in the face, I was quite happy to see him, and And I gave him a hug, and we had a little chat, and we only praised each other. You know what I mean? We praised each other, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, I don't like you, I still don't like you, or we ignored each other. We went over to each other and hugged each other, and this is one of the only sports like boxing where this happens. In other sports, it never happens. You don't see it happening in like football. When they have egos with each other, it's always there. But with us, it's going to be punched it out, and that's it now.
You've always been a pathfinder for change, and I wanted to ask you, I mean, the Battle of the Baddest is looking ahead to Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. It's got its naysayers. Yeah. There's a lot of people saying, don't underestimate this guy from MMA with an incredible story. You come from an incredible background as well, where you had nothing at the beginning, and look what you built. You've built an empire. You also fought in the Middle East in 2019.
Yeah, I fought there in 2019 when everybody like really didn't know that Middle East are into boxing or they know anything about boxing, and I was one of the first fighters to go there, and I fought on a big fight there. The paycheck was big, and it was, again, I mean, it was more like it was a professional fight, but you can say it was like an exhibition type of fight as well, because obviously everyone knew I was gonna walk through Billy Davis, but it was a great payday for Billy Davis as well, because I mean, the Saudis, as you know, throw big money to boxing. I mean, and everything now. Well, to be honest, not only boxing, sport. Exactly. Saudi Arabia now is on a different level, and it's just good that being a Muslim myself and being a person that's been going to Saudi Arabia for the last couple of years, even before sport was big there, because I went to do my pilgrimage there. They took a liking in me.
Tell me, does Tyson Fury have to take the challenge of Francis Ngannou very seriously?
He has to take it very seriously, because this guy can bang. I mean, he's a very dangerous opponent. I mean, he can hit hard. And look, he normally gets hit with padded, like a tiny pad, 4-ounce gloves, which is literally nothing. Imagine wearing 10-ounce gloves. You think he's going to feel much? Look, Tyson, in my opinion, wins the fight easily, all right? But it's just that Ngannou is no duckhead. Like, he's going to come to fight. And now having Mike Tyson, look, Mike Tyson's not going to work with an MMA fighter if he didn't see any talent in him. If he didn't see any spark in him, he's not going to want to work with him, because he'll be like, his reputation, I think, counts more than that. Mike Tyson thinks and believes Ngannou can beat Tyson Fury. That's why he's gone on his side. So check that out, man. I mean, this is no easy fight. It's a tough fight for Tyson. I think he will still win, but it's not going to be easy.
At home with the Khans, we've seen that.
Yeah.
Are the books out? What's coming next?
That's it, man. I mean, who knows? We might announce something big. You know, I always keep you in the loop. I'll always tell you, this is what I'm doing, Gareth. This is what I'm doing. So don't worry. I'll keep in touch with you. But there's a few things that I've been offered. I don't want to speak too soon, because sometimes when you speak too soon, it just hits a wall and it still happen. So let me just see this one. It's a big one.
Can't wait to read the book. Can't wait to see the impact it has on everyone in your life.
You'll enjoy the book. Honestly, you'll enjoy the book. It's a good read. And see, you read my first book as well. And, you know, this book is all done by me. And there were times where I went really deep in it. There was times in it when I went like, you know, I went very close to like depression and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, like, yeah, it was tough for me. I never ever showed anyone.
Okay, that's good.
I was always smiling. So you'll enjoy this book.
Because you went the full 12 rounds. You've done it in 12 chapters, haven't you? 12 rounds. So you've gone the championship distance in this book, yeah?
Fully, literally. I think I was too honest now thinking about it, because people are like, I can't believe you said this. And you said that. Are you like you were way too honest. You opened up. Like, if I do something, I do big, you know what I mean? So this time I think I've gone maybe gone over the top, but I'm just telling the truth. It is what it is.
Amir, thanks so much for your time today. It's great to see you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice speaking to you as always.
Cheers, Amir. Amir Khan there joining us on the Battle of the Baddest podcast. Raven Chapman is in here in the studio 808 with me for the close of the Battle of the Baddest podcast, episode 3. Amir made some very interesting points there, but overall today, and you've made them as well, Francis Ngannou is a dangerous man. People believe he should target the body, let his hands go early because Tyson Fury's underestimating him. And you made that great point that Mike Tyson will probably be aware of as well. Be unorthodox, be awkward, be an MMA fighter, but use your heavy hands against Fury.
Yeah, exactly that. All of that. Be Fury's worst nightmare, essentially. Be something he's never found himself up against before, and counter his great boxing ability with that rough and tough MMA mindset.
Brilliant stuff, Raven. It's been brilliant to have you in the studio and on the podcast today.
Great to be here, Gareth. Thank you for having me.
My thanks to Raven Chapman, the Omen, for being here in the studio with me today. Can the Predator Francis Ngannou beat Tyson Fury in the Battle of the Baddest on October the 28th? That's it for this week. We'll see you next week for more on Fury versus Ngannou.